Welcome to the Jericho Force podcast, where we learn how to integrate faith into the work that we do. Don't conform to the world's way of doing business. Transform by doing business God's way. Here's our host, my husband, author, speaker, teacher, encourager, and stewardship coach, Jason Davis.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? This is Jason Davis, aka Mr. Fortify. Welcome to the Jericho Force podcast. I am your host. Here on the Jericho Force podcast, we talk about how we integrate faith into the work that we do and how we live out our faith in the marketplace. I got to tell you, ladies and gentlemen, our guest on the show today is, dare I say, a dream come true, because I have a high appreciation for this individual. And just before we came on, I was letting her know just what really stuck out to me about her over the last several years. But before I bring her on, let me introduce her to you. Kim Walsh Phillips. Kim is the founder of Powerful Professionals, a business, coaching, and education company. She went from 32 clients to over 11,000 in less than a year and was recently named number 475 in the Inc. 5000 and is an MBA-free self-made millionaire. Named a must-read by those in business by Forbes magazine, she is the best-selling author of multiple books, including The Ultimate Guide to Instagram for Business and The No BS Guide to Direct Response Social Media Marketing. She's the behind-the-scenes secret weapon of some of the biggest names in business, including Kevin O'Leary from Shark Tank, Dan Kennedy, Profit First author Mike Michalowicz, Harley Davidson, Hilton Hotels, and High Point University, and has spoken on stages beside some of the world's leading thought leaders, including Tony Robbins, Grant Cardone, Barbara Corcoran, and Gary Vaynerchuk. She resides just outside of Atlanta, Georgia, with her very tall husband and glitter-obsessed girls, and is fueled by faith, love, laughter, and lots of coffee. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Jericho Force podcast, Miss Kim Walsh Phillips.
Hey, it's so exciting to be with you. What an honor.
Yes, absolutely, Kim. I'm very excited to sit down with you and your schedule and have a conversation about living out our faith here in the marketplace. And so I'm really excited to have you on, Kim.
Yeah, I can't wait to chat.
So, Kim, we know there's a lot going on in your bio that God has graced you to do. You've rubbed shoulders with some of the top influencers and business moguls out there. But we know in 2022, where you stand today, you weren't always where you were. So talk to us about your professional background.
It's crazy that I literally can't remember a time when I didn't have faith and I couldn't hear like this whisper and pull and calling. And I'm so thankful for that, because I know that's something that a lot of people struggle with. So I don't have any judgment over those who don't feel that or sense it, because I know what a gift it is. Mm-hmm. And for a very long time, since like the beginning, I always knew that I was going to do something in leadership and teaching and helping people direct in their purpose. Ever since I was in like elementary school, I was doing things in those realms. And when I first finished college, I was in the marketing and PR space professionally, but then I volunteered at my church as a youth group leader. And so I was leading groups of students to find their purpose and calling. And so I was doing it even then, which is amazing and awesome. But my background starts that I worked for other people. Eventually, someone came to me and asked me to do some consulting work for her. I started doing it evenings and weekends. I grew that business big enough that I could quit my full-time job, do that full time. I grew that agency through a lot of trials and tribulations to really successful. And God was calling me to sell it. And I had gone from really struggling to having huge clients like Kevin O'Leary from Shark Tank and all of his Shark Tank investments and Dan Kennedy. And they're all paying me and I'm their coach. And I'm like, really? This is what you want me to sell? And I was in church one Sunday And my pastor played a video. I just written in my planner, like, okay, God, it's yours. Because I felt him tell me, like, you're supposed to make a greater impact. And I'm like, I don't know what that means. And then the pastor played a video by Chip and Joanna Gaines. And it told the story of after Joanna, she had this dream always of opening up her own little boutique. And she finally got it, and the boutique is open, and her kids are there, and everything's going great. She's getting this whisper from God, close the store. I have bigger things planned for you. You're meant to impact more. And I'm like, are you kidding me? Like what I just wrote in my journal just was spoken to me from screen. So I start crying, and then like it's a small church we were going to at the time. So I'm like, I cannot cry in the second pew of this church. People are going to think like, does she have cancer? Are they getting divorced? They're going to start like circling around me and laying hands and all the things. I'm like, okay, let's not think about this. We'll think about traffic and like washing dishes and get out of the emotion of it all. And so we leave church, and I said to my husband, I'm like, okay, I handed it over. I'm ready for whatever this is. He's like, it's about time. Like, cause it was a long time coming. So I do hand it over. I never put it on the market. And, I got 3 offers for people to buy my company that week. Within 90 days, I'd sold it and started my coaching business. And, within 1 year, I went from the 32 clients I had in my marketing agency to over 11,000 in my coaching. And I was able to impact so many more lives and set up my schedule so that I could be present for my kids. My clients all know, and the evenings, I'm not available. The weekends, I'm not available. School breaks, I'm not available. Today, when we get off this podcast interview, I get in the car and go pick up my youngest from camp. And then I head to softball practice with my kids. Like, I'm able to have a multi-million-dollar business that has massive impact and also allows me to have the life that I'm supposed to have. And so that all came from listening to that calling and saying yes to the unknown, which was scary, but I do it much more easily now because it does work out every time I do it.
Wow. Kim, that's powerful. There was a lot of nuggets in between there. One thing that really struck me, you talked about how even back in youth group, you were already leading people. Just talk to our listeners about, because, Kim, sometimes people can't really see out in the future. And sometimes they're like, well, I'm not really sure what I'm doing now has to do with what I'm going to do in the future. So just talk about the role that played, talking about leadership and helping people discover their purpose. How does that play into the work that you do now? So this is the cool thing, is that it's never been me. It's always come through me. And so because I have leaned into what I'm being called to do, it never was a question that's what I was going to do. Right. So like, I've been used as a vessel. I am 100% positive that I am here on purpose with purpose, as every single person hearing my voice right now is. And because I know what my purpose is in that moment, what I need to do, even when I don't want to, even when I'm uncomfortable, even when there's very likely a person who will not like me when I do it, because it would be way more comfortable just to stay still. I move into it because that's what I'm supposed to do. And so like, even back in the day, I'm like a 20-something, I'm becoming a youth group leader. I actually went to seminary to get more biblical training. I'm becoming a youth leader. And there was another youth leader in the group who was a youth pastor who did not like that I got so involved and so ingrained with the children, because it was very threatening to him. And like, but that was okay with me, because the fact of the matter was I wasn't there for him. I was there for the kids. So like, I've always had moments where, because I'm so bold and so much of a leader, there's somebody else who isn't a super fan of that. And it took me, a lot of time in prayer and conversation with God. But I remember Jesus walking into the marketplace and overturning the tables when he saw something that didn't match what we were being called to do. And so it's okay. I could love everybody and be okay with not getting along with everybody. That's good, Kim. Because of some of the people that you currently work with and have gotten to work with, as we know, there are naysayers and haters, and you were kind of starting to get into this. How do you maintain being that savvy business person, but at the same time, still trying to display the love of Christ in your dealings? How does that balance work?
Yeah. So like the balance between what?
So you being Kim, the businesswoman, and then Kim also being like, hey, I know my call and my purpose, and I'm still spreading Jesus in my actions. But we know things like negotiation can be tough, and making business deals. How do you maintain that balance?
It is. I'm always the same person, so there's no separate Kims. So that makes it super helpful. And sometimes I make horrible mistakes, and like it was crazy because we just had a company event last week where we host our coaching clients in person, and we had a client dinner one of the nights, and this is always supposed to be like a really nice experience for them. And the restaurant did a terrible job, and it was thousands of dollars, and it was an awful experience. And I was feeling like a lot of anger towards the crew and towards the owner of the business and all the things. And then like, just like God does, the next morning, my devotional was like, love others as I love them. And I was like, oh, okay. Like, so yeah, I have to stay in the word as much as I can so that I can continue to operate in a way that I want to, which is always with my faith first. Like I want people to know there's something different about me all the time by the way I behave, not who I don't want you to know by who I tell you I am, but how you see me to be. And so I will feel that like I have an overall philosophy that like I love you regardless of who you worship, who you love, where you live, the color of your skin, or how much money is in your bank account. And I am super clear about that. And I will say that often inside my coaching program because I do pray for my people. And before like we're at the event, before we break for lunch, I'm going to pray for them. And I tell them, I love you regardless of the fact you want to join in prayer with me. I love you. But if you want to, here's that moment. Because that's their journey, not mine. And I will never have the term like kingdom entrepreneur on any of my company things because all are welcome. Because really, truly, Jesus did not say you can only come and listen to me if you believe in me already. He wanted to be with all the people. And how can I expose people to what a life of faith really looks like if I tell you only get to hang out with me if you already believe what I believe? So I am a very much, I want all to feel incredibly welcome. And because of that, I have people of all sorts of faith inside my community. And I love it because I feel like that's exactly how we get to the other side of knowing what this life is like when we follow him, because they're getting to be exposed to that world.
That is so good, Kim. That's almost like a mini sermon that we're getting here, treating how we treat others. And I mean, Jesus spent time with tax collectors and prostitutes. And it's just such a great reminder of the going out into being a light in the darkness, basically.
Yeah. And I've actually have a little bit, I'm going to be honest, I have a little bit of disappointment with businesses that focus. So this is for you if like, this is for Christian I get it. Like if they feel called that they're supposed to do that, that's awesome. But if they do that because they feel more comfortable talking about their faith in God, because everybody already believes the same thing as them, that's something we might want to look at. So I like challenging that paradigm to have it be, could you serve more people and could you bring more people into your purpose if you didn't limit those that could hear it?
Yeah, that's good right there. Also a little bit of kind of a marketing lesson as well.
Yeah.
Wow. Kim, with the people that you get to work with, and one of the things that I started following you about for years ago was your integrity. You never waver from what you're doing, and that's coming out in this interview now. When you're working on people at that level, have you run across situations where you said, wow, this person on TV or in the movies or in their business deals, they come across one way, but now that I'm behind the scenes, I'm not really sure that this is the type of person I want to work with? You don't have to say any names or anything, but you, if you've had that, can you talk about how you handled how you handled it and what your reaction was?
Yeah, I had it a lot working in the space that I worked in, which allowed me to create my list of things that how we would do things differently. Like one of my philosophies is that we will not teach anything that we don't already do in our own business. I think people teach strategies that they don't use, whether it's health, fitness, relationship, wealth, and they're one phase here and then doing something else here. I'm not okay with that. I also don't teach something unless I've tested it for at least 90 days. I find other people will teach something they just tried for the first time. They don't even know if it's going to work, and they're sharing it like it's the best thing you could ever do. And then people try it and they feel like they're broken when the strategy really didn't work. We don't lock people inside contracts, where I find some programs lock people in a contract they can't get out of. So I really took a lot of the things that I saw that I didn't like and said, okay, we can create something that's different. So I've leveraged those moments. If I have a couple of guru leaders that they said things behind closed doors that I was completely against what I feel would be value for their people. And so in those moments, I won't work with you anymore. It actually relates back to this crazy again. It's back to church, but I went to this super old school church back when I lived in New York, Pennsylvania, and I was in the choir, and I sat up in the pew, and they had the way the church was situated. They had the pew right behind where the preacher, gave his sermons and everything. And so we sat behind him, and it's a little weird because it's kind of like we're sitting there in support of him the whole time, but whatever, it was fine. Well, at the time, we wanted to reach more of the inner city people, and they very much wanted to keep it like it's always been. Suburbanites drive in, go to church, and leave. And we're like, we want to serve more people, so we wanted to start a contemporary service. And he was so threatened by this, right? So he's so threatened by this, and we were working really hard. We were saying we'll do it on our own time. We'll fund the whole thing. I'll do it in the basement. I don't care. Just let us reach more people. And he said, as part of one of his sermons one Sunday, that those that go against him are like those that put Jesus on the cross, going against their faith. I was like, are you kidding? That is not okay. So I got up out of the pew and I left because I thought, I cannot sit here giving the message that I'm in support of this. So I've had that same moment happen. I've been in an event. There was a speaker. I thought the things that they were saying were really not right. They were being emotionally manipulative to get a sale to a point of creating a frenzy or whatever it might be. And I left the room because I'm I'm not going to sit here and show that I'm in support of this. Or there's somebody in our niche who has a lot of supporters, and he would be willing to promote my stuff if I'll promote him. But I went to one of his events and I found it to be not well serving to his members. I'll just leave it like that. And I'm I can't partner with you anymore. So you have to, I believe we don't have a second time to make the right decision. I don't think we do. If I was to choose, one thing I don't know, if I don't know they're like that, that's one thing. But once I know, if I continue to support it, then I am just as much to blame for their behavior.
Wow. That's almost like the guilty by association.
Yeah, we are responsible because then our support of the situation may be the thing that was needed to convince somebody else that they should do it, right? And so that being the case, then we can't support it anymore.
That is so good, Kim. And again, that there's that integrity thing coming out. And it's so funny, Kim, when you sit down with people and you really get to know them, just the interaction. That's why I really appreciate our conversation, because I've always known you from webinars, and now it's we're sitting down and having a chat, talking about how good God is in our life and in our business. Kim, as you think back on your life, and you've mentioned a couple on the show today, what do you think was the turning point in your faith? A good colleague of mine calls these inflection points or punctuation points. But for you, what was one big one that really set you on a path of walking in the things God was calling you to do?
At that moment was really big. Another moment that I had was before that moment happened in church was I was putting my daughters to bed, and I was pushing. They love to push their twin beds together, and I just had my hands laid on their little backs, and I was just praying over them and saying goodnight and all those sweet things. And I just kind of called up to God and said, can you freeze time? Because I didn't want to risk. I'm like, can you just freeze time? I don't want to miss another minute. Mm-hmm. And God spoke back and said, I don't need to freeze time, Kim. You just need to be more present. I was like, oh, crap. Accurate. So I was justifying working so much by focusing on the impact I was making in the world and how I was able to take care of my kids and how I was present for them for a lot of the moments. But I did realize that I only have them as my children to be parented for so long. My oldest is going into 7th grade. I have 6 summers left with her. That's it.
Wow.
That's such a short time. And so if that really spurred me to change the way that I ran my business at that time, which was to get myself out of as many of the responsibilities as possible and hand them over to other people, which then allowed me within 6 months later to get that calling to sell the company. So it was really powerful. And then I knew when I started my next business, I was going to set it up in a way that I could still be present for my kids. And what's so amazing is that's what I get to coach people on now, how they can grow their business while still having a life, which has been amazing.
Wow. So awesome, Kim. And it's those turning points.
Yeah.
I believe, people always ask about the one. I believe there's multiple, and it just depended on just where we're at in our life. So I appreciate your transparency, sharing a few of those with us today. Well, Kim, we know the big kahuna in the room, you being a coach and helping other entrepreneurs and all the work that you do. So powerful professionals. Talk to us about the work that you do with clients and what your secret sauce is for the area of expertise. Because as you know, Kim, there's a lot of people out there online that say a lot of things and don't really follow through. Mm-hmm. So you've had proven success in the online space. So talk to us about powerful professionals and what you do with clients and how people work with you.
When I was scaling and growing my business, I joined a lot of programs and I got a lot out of them, but I saw a few things missing, and that people, when they're looking to scale their business, have a few hardships. One, they don't know the right marketing message to attract their right fit clients. Number 2, they're totally freaked out about the tech. They don't know how to set up a landing page and a thank you page. And then the third thing is they don't know how to scale it, from a perspective of how to get out of one-on-one sales calls. And so I decided to launch a coaching program that basically solves all of those things. I write their marketing message for them. I personally write it. I take them through a process. I create their marketing message. They have the exact template to follow to build their PowerPoint slides, and I personally review their slides before they launch. And then we build all their tech for them. We took away that frustration. So I literally saw a need in the marketplace and we filled it. And it's been amazing. I mean, we've had we've launched this, I've always had a mastermind, but now I have an elite level above it and a power up group coaching below it, and my power up group coaching program below it. I've had 250 people join this group coaching program, and we only have it's only 2 years old. So it's been amazing how we've been able to scale this and grow the program that way. So yeah, that's how people work with us.
Wow.
Yeah.
Hey, Kim, we've had, and we've all heard this word over the last 2 years, unprecedented. But what are you seeing trend wise? There's a lot of businesses that closed or shut down or filed bankruptcy, and many of them are just now coming into the 21st century in terms of having an online presence. So what are some trends you saw during the pandemic, and then even now as we're kind of starting to come out of it? What did you see during, and then where do you see us going in the online space?
Yeah, so I saw, because there was a need for change, a lot of people pivot in a way that they maybe had wanted to do for a long time, but they never had. So I'm working with a lot of business owners who had like a traditional brick and mortar business prior to 2020, or even in-person clients only, and pivot to online. So that's been really exciting because that's a space that we're in. Just one of the reasons why my business has grown so much in the last few years is that we work in the space that people need right now in this moment. And I think the other thing is we're seeing people who've been in latter stages that sometimes would think more towards retirement, not looking at it like that anymore, more looking like this is the time to check off my bucket list items. And that's been exciting too, because they're really sensing more the value of time and how we don't get things back and appreciating things more. So we've seen more people take bigger leaps maybe than I have ever seen in the past.
And folks, if you're listening, Kim is dropping some gems today for sure, looking at those trends. Another thing I just thought of, Kim, that has come up a lot. Many of the tech companies are updating their algorithms. We see what Facebook, or should I say Meta, has done. It seems like they change their algorithm often. And then we even saw Google make some changes on the back end, Apple even with their email and how they kind of scan things coming in to your phone on their operating system. So it kind of rocked a lot of entrepreneurs. So what has been your wisdom as seeing how a lot of the tech companies are changing how the ad distribution goes and their algorithms? What's your wisdom there?
Yeah, I would not rely upon one source of traffic at any time in order to grow your business. That's dangerous. And that was definitely a Dan Kennedyism that I got from him, as one is the loneliest number. You always want to have multiple sources. And I have found some businesses have multiple sources, but they're still primarily relying upon one. And again, that's not going to work because it puts you in a situation where if that doesn't do as well, you're not in a great position. I also would not drive myself crazy with algorithm crap. Like when you're finding stuff that's working well for you, go deeper with it. Like spend more with it, spend more time with it, invest more in it. That makes sense. And if it stops working, then you stop. Like get the emotion out of the data analysis. My favorite quote is, "In God I trust, everyone else bring data." So for the data, just track what's working and don't be married to any one strategy. So when you see it change, you could change with it.
Straight to the point. Love it. You provided a perfect segue, Kim, because you mentioned Dan Kennedy, and I know that you co-authored, probably a couple books with him, and one of them in particular, the No BS Guide to Direct Response Social Media Marketing. Talk to us about how it was co-authoring with him and just some of the messages that come across in that book.
Yeah. So it was amazing. I still remember where I was sitting when he called me and asked me to write that book with him. And I was like, I was sitting at my desk. We had an in-person office at the time in Pennsylvania. Sitting at my desk, I'm looking at the tree out my window and I'm like, why is this being recorded? He doesn't get on Zoom at all. So we couldn't have been on Zoom, but there wasn't even that. I don't think that was a thing then. Because it was 2014 or 13 when he asked me the first time. And so, it was amazing. And I definitely carried the bulk of work in that project on purpose for him, and went and got sponsors for all the things. And it was incredible. It was amazing having that experience. We sold so well that Entrepreneur Press ended up coming to me and giving me a multiple book contract. Actually, I now have another book. I have another book that I write with them, is the Ultimate Guide to Instagram for Business. They gave me the contract to write the second version of that. I got the second edition of the No BS Guide. And then two of the people I worked with at the publisher left, started their own publishing house. They came to me and asked me to write a book. And they told me that my books for Entrepreneur Press sold better and faster than any author they've ever had. I'm like, wow. Interesting. You all didn't tell me that when you were there, when I was negotiating those contracts. But we know how to sell things and connect with people and have that messaging. So, and I love writing. I just have 2 books that are due to the publisher within the next week. So I'm like thick in it again. But my next book that I'm so excited about, because I know you wanted me to share what my upcoming project is. I'll have a new edition of the Instagram book coming out next winter, which will be great. And then the book that I have coming out this fall is called The Powerful Professional, how to have lifestyle business and empire business at the same time. And so it's all about how to scale your company without sacrificing your life.
My goodness, Kim, I certainly appreciate you dropping some of those sneak peeks for us, because I know some things you have to keep under wraps. So thank you for sharing. Folks, that's what people do on the Jericho Force podcast. They share what's upcoming. Kim, real quick before we start to wrap up, while you have the 2 books, I noticed, Instagram, what caused you to single out that platform? We've seen TikTok, of course, Meta's doing what, continuing to shift and change, but why Instagram in particular? Yeah,
that's what they came to me with the book. That they have one on all sorts of topics. That was actually when they first came to me. I had 352 followers. I was 100% not qualified to write it. They asked me to though, and then I started researching what works, what doesn't, and I experimented. Actually, share all my experiments in my first book, so that was great. I learned a lot. I now have over 18,000 followers on Instagram. I have a lot of monetization on it. So I'm much more qualified to talk about it now than I was. I also interviewed for this second edition. I interviewed a bunch of people who have huge followings, who monetize it, and they gave strategies. I learned a lot by interviewing them, and all of that's in the book. It's amazing. So it'll be incredible. And it's all about how to use it to grow your business, not just how to become Insta famous.
That's good. We have a lot of people chasing that for sure.
Yeah.
Well, Kim, I love that. We're halfway through the year. You talked about the book projects you have coming up. Any other exciting events for the back half of 2022?
Upcoming is our launch that we'll be doing in August. We only do this once a year, and we run a challenge that is you can get 10,000 new followers for your business Facebook page. So it grows your following really quickly. And we haven't done this in a long time. I haven't done it in over a year. People love it. I still have people who stop me who say, "Are you Kim Walsh Phillips?" Yeah, I did your 10K followers challenge 5 years ago. So they'll pull me aside, and I think you did it too.
Yep, I sure did. Yeah. I surely did.
So I have a lot of people who tell me that's like the push they needed to start marketing online. And so I love getting to see the impact that I make with that program, and that just the energy and the people I get to meet through that. So that's really our biggest thing will be that in August, we'll be doing that 10X Your Followers program. And then just continuing to serve our coaching members. It's been amazing.
Well, Kim, I appreciate you sharing what's coming up with your writing projects, and also upcoming the second half of the year with our events. Those books that are out now, Kim, where can people grab a copy of those?
Yeah, I'm on Amazon. If you look up Kim Walsh Phillips, you'll find all of my book links there. And the good news is, because I have 3 names, you can find me anywhere with that. It's one of the reasons why I have 3 names, because there's not another just like me. So yeah, just Kim Walsh Phillips on Amazon or any social media platforms. You're able to find my books, and they even already have the second edition of the Instagram book. The link's already up on Amazon. So all of that is in place. And as soon as Powerful Professionals is up there, you'll see that one there as well.
All right. And Kim, you started to get into the different platforms you're on. You're talking about the books, but what's the best way for listeners to connect with you?
Yeah, on whatever platform they prefer. I'm on Instagram, okay. I'm on Facebook, I'm on Twitter, I'm on LinkedIn. So your location of preference is perfect for me.
Love it. Love it. And folks, remember, we'll have links to everything that Kim, that's currently out right now. Some things aren't out, but we'll have links in the show notes where you can go directly to the locations that Kim is talking about. Well, Kim, I have thoroughly enjoyed our time together. It was really, really exciting. I'm so glad we got to have this conversation. Thank you so much for carving out a little bit of time to come on the Jericho Force podcast.
So great to be with you. Thanks for having me. It's been so much fun.
Absolutely. Well, folks, you know how we end things here on the podcast. Don't conform to the world's way of doing business. Transform by doing business God's way. We'll see you next time on the Jericho Force podcast.
Thank you for listening to the Jericho Force podcast. You can catch us live on Wednesdays at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time and on demand. Check out jerichoforce.com/podcast for more details. To learn how to live out your faith in the marketplace, grab a copy of Jason Davis's book, Fortify, Being Rooted in God's Plan for Work and Business, available on Amazon.
You're listening to Do or Slide Worldwide Podcast.